Here's a YouTube fact I've learned the hard way. It is impossible to do an unbiased tool review if you've just received that tool for free. So for this video, I've spent £200 of my own money to buy 6 tools from Banggood. Some are brilliant, some are terrible, and one is just hilarious. I've never seen anything like it before, and I'm willing to bet that you probably haven't either. But not only am I going to test the tools, I'm also going to show you another way to get the job done for far cheaper. We've got a lot to do in this one. You're not going to want to miss it. So let's get started. This first tool is one that I've wanted for at least a year. But before I show you what it is, I want to show you why I've wanted it. These are card scrapers or cabinet scrapers. And to really simplify it, the way you use them is that you push with your 2 thumbs, you get a bend on it, support the sides and scrape along a piece of wood. That way the burr, which is a folded microscopic bit of metal that you've created, can act like a mini hand plane. But if you're using them a lot, they can get pretty hard on your thumbs, hence why I've got this pad on mine, which is okay but not great, and they can create a little bit of bruising on your thumb or heat transfer from the scraper itself. I'm really hoping that this tool from Banggood that I've picked up is going to solve all of my issues that I have with hand holding a scraper. Now don't get confused by the name on the site because some of them are ridiculous. This one is called something like a hand plane edge band cutter trimmer edge band trimmer card scraper holder, which is hardly catchy. But what it does, and it comes with 3 card scrapers for you, you feed the card scraper in between the 2 cylinders if you like, you clamp it into place using the brass fixtures, and then there is a turn screw at the back that pushes this internal plate out, giving you the flex on the card scraper. It's got 2 points of contact because it's a square block in there which acts pretty much like your 2 thumbs would on the card scraper itself. And then you've got these 2 indentations on the back. You can wrap your fingers around the cylinders, indentations in the back, and you can go to town with it as a card scraper. But there are a couple of things to note when you get it. Don't pull it out of the box, put it together like I have and expect it to work, because this, the card scraper, hasn't had anything done to it. In effect, this card scraper is utterly useless. Now I'm not going to go through the processes of putting a burr on these, but I'm going to link a video at the end that will show you exactly how to do this that I've had up on the site for a couple of years, and it's really simple. I've happened to have one that I've had an edge on for a while, so let's give this a quick test to make sure it's as good as it says it is. And now I think it's important with this tool one to address the biggest elephant in the room with Banggood and other Chinese tool companies. This is not an original tool. Now I'm not going to get into the weeds on this and the moral dilemma that people face, but the fact of the matter is this is a copy of a tool. The one I've had my eye on for a long time is the Veritas version. I believe, and don't quote me on this, but I believe they're the original. Now it's up to you morally how you deal with this. I'm not going to tell you either which way, I'm not going to tell you which way I see it. I'm just reviewing tools. But price-wise, with 3 scrapers, this is going to cost you in the UK £35, in the US $34. Now the Veritas version, which is nigh on identical, only comes with 1 scraper. In the UK, depending on where you buy it, that's between £40 and £50. And in the US, it's anywhere between $47 and $55. So you're saving in effect £15 to £20. And you're gaining 2 scrapers. So let's be completely honest. The only reason for buying this is going to be budget. The Veritas is not a cheap tool, but then nor is this. And in effect, you could, if you're on a tight budget, use your thumbs. There is one more option, and I'm yet to test it. And I'm marginally skeptical. This is a 3D printed version. Certainly doesn't feel very strong. Now I am lucky enough to have a 3D printer here. I understand that. Not everyone does. I would say this is going to last you nigh on forever. This may last you a year, 6 months, who knows. But if you have a 3D printer, the files are free on MakerWorld. I think we have to give it a test. And so there it is. They've both been tested. They both do a fantastic job. But whether you buy an expensive version or whether you 3D print something for cheap, that really depends on how much you're going to use it. No matter what you decide tool-wise, these are only as good as how well you put the burr on the card in the first place. If you're getting dust, then you need to do the burr again. If you're getting curly shavings, then you've nailed it. If during this video you see any tools that you like or you want to check them out for yourself, I've popped all the links down in the description below. Now this next tool is one of those really pretty red aluminium sets. These are setup blocks, and this particular set will probably not be that appealing to the guys in the US, more for the people in Europe and the UK, because it's all metric. And I have to say, it's not that cheap. £30 or $40, depending on where you're buying it from. The reason I went for this is because I've really struggled online to get setup blocks that are metric. Most that you find on Amazon and other places are imperial. I've also struggled to get setup blocks that aren't just blocks. I want something that's got a height gauge so I can set a router or the height on my table saw. These will do it, but you have to feel it rather than raise the blade into a definite stop. But I'll come to my solution for that shortly. First of all, an accuracy test. These claim to come in set increments, 1, 2, 25, 32 and 50. And you might have noticed a few are missing there. I think because when you put them together, it is the bare minimum amount of blocks you need to get every increment of 1 single millimetre, which is okay. In the UK, this is what we would call 1/2 inch or 12mm plywood. I would love to have a 12mm setup block. It's not in there. However, I do have a 4 and an 8. That's okay. If you want it any more accurate, well, you'd probably be using the wood as the reference anyway, so these would be redundant. Where these blocks are dead on accurate, and they are, there's another one though that bugs me. Because take the 18mm block for instance. The width is 13. The width of the 16mm block is also 13. At what stage did someone make these and decide 13mm is the most useful depth they're going to make them? I'm not going to rant anymore about the different numbers. If you're buying this set and you want a little drawer plate for them, I've designed this little shallow drawer plate. It won't stand up to any shaking it around, but if you've got it in a nice smooth drawer next to your table saw or your router table, pull it out, grab what you need. All the numbers won't show up, so I've put them embossed along the side. Simple. That's going to be free on my website. All the links are going to be in the description. I know it's a little bit niche, but if you do go out and buy these blocks, if you can find a use for them, may as well store them well. I have a better solution for you though. This is a full set of start making metric setup blocks. You can have the lie down tray or you can have a stand up tray if you want to have them just on a shelf next to something. This takes up a lot less space. This works very well in a drawer. The reason that I've come up with these, or the reason I've designed these, is because I wanted more than what was offered from those blocks. So what I've put on there is the width, same as those blocks. So this one, for instance, is 10mm. So you will have 10mm across the width. What you also have is 10mm on the indent. So if you're setting up a router table or a table saw, that's your 10mm. You've got 1 to 6 in a short length, which I've designed more for a router. And then you've got 1 to 10 every single millimetre increment on the longer ones. And the reason I've done longer is so they straddle the throat plate of a table saw, so you're referencing off the actual bed of the table saw rather than the throat plate. I've separated the number 5 off, print that one off first, test it with your calipers, and then scale all of them up by whatever amount brings it to the closest to 5mm. That way the entire set will be accurate enough for woodworking. You may have noticed that more and more woodworking channels are integrating 3D printing into their workflow and their videos. And while online there are plenty of places to download ready-made files, sooner or later, as a maker, you're going to want to design your own. And I don't mind admitting this caught me out. Because I'm fine with simple, straight designs, but anything involving curves or complex shapes is way beyond me. And that's where this week's sponsor, Hitem 3D, comes in. Hitem 3D uses AI to turn a photo, a sketch, or even an AI-generated image into a high-quality 3D model. A model ready for 3D printing, animation, or prototyping. Let me show you how I would use it. Last week's video was all about this lamp, and this sketch is all the planning I managed to do before building. Problem is, I couldn't model this curve properly in my design software. So I basically built it blind without knowing what the proportions would actually look like. Now with Hitem 3D, I can start by asking ChatGPT to generate an image of my idea. I upload that image into Hitem 3D, and in just a few minutes I have a downloadable STL file ready to print. I can even ask ChatGPT for small design changes, generate multiple versions, and print several iterations to compare. And one thing I really like is if you're not happy with the first model you get 3 free regos. And if you want more accuracy, you can upload up to 4 images from different angles. This is just one of the many ways that Hitem 3D enhances design for 3D printing. Because it means within a matter of an hour, I can have 4 or 5 different prototypes of the same project that I can look at with tiny tweaks on each one, so I can decide before I build what's going to look the best. There's a range of subscription offers depending on your needs. So if you want to check out Hitem 3D for yourself, I've popped a link down in the description for you. A couple of years ago, I got wowed by a Rag and Bone Brown video. He made homemade pop-up bench dogs, and ever since I watched that, I wanted them. So I made some and they worked brilliantly. But mine had one flaw. They did start to jam up. So when I saw these pop-up bench dogs on Banggood, I thought, that's worth a shot. Now, it hasn't turned out to be such a good idea. Very briefly, the reason I love having these pop-up bench dogs on my workbench is because for me, they cover both bases. They're a very quick and easy way to get a bench dog up and out the way so you can use it quickly and then put it away. But also you can pull them out and you can use any of your clamps that go in those holes anyway. So they cover the hole and they act as a bench dog. But they can be a bit finicky to make because the initial set that I made used this pop cupboard door hardware where one click opens it, one click closes it. And because they're made of wood, they tended to swell and they got stuck quite a lot. Now, the Banggood bench dog has some things going for it. It has got a really smooth action. You can tell it is well made. It's a single unit, so you're not going to get a load of dust and debris in there. And that's pretty much where the good stops. You see, every dog hole drilled into a homemade table tends to either be 3/4 of an inch for you guys that are imperial or 20mm for us metric folk. This, because it has the cartridge, comes in at 26mm. So it's not going to fit in your standard table, as far as I know. And if you're going to use it in this, well, I'm going to have to drill every single hole out to 26mm. There is a time and a place for them though, but let me show you what I've come up with first, because it'd probably be a better solution. Solution 1. Do what I did in the first place. Buy yourself some 20mm dowel, sand it down slightly, stick one of these bits of hardware in it. I'll leave a link in the description, and then have your own pop-up bench dogs. Just know you'll need about 65mm of depth with a hard stop on the bottom. Now, most of you will probably only have 18mm or 2 lots of 18mm ply as your surface of your workbench, which isn't enough. You can either retrofit a plank of wood underneath your table and drill down into that, and that'll give you the hard stop, or you can go down the 3D printed route again. I've got a design on the website for these very simple bench dogs. They're just a 19.75mm diameter bench dog. You fit the hardware inside it, and that gives you your pop-up bench dog. You get a few twists of adjustment on it, so you've got about 5 to 7mm worth of play. But what if you've got an MFT? What if you've only got 18mm as your surface table and it's all pre-drilled? Well, that's where I've made these. These little cups sit underneath your MFT. You drop your bench dog in, it sits nicely and snugly away, and you pop it up. Pop it away out of use, pop it up. But what if they fill up with dust? Well, there's a file on there for screw capped. Empty it, put the cap back on, and you're good to go. Now, I promised you one use for these. The place you could get away with these, I would say, is on the jaws of a vise. You don't have to do lots of holes. You probably just need 2 of these on the outer jaw of your bench vise, and you're good to go. But do know, price-wise, you're going to pay £17 for 2 of these, or $22 for 2. Whereas with these pop fit ones, and a bit of 3D printing or a bit of dowel, it's going to cost you a whole lot less. And something I did after filming this video is that I went back and I adjusted all of the holder files in that bundle so that now they're all slightly smaller in 5mm increments. Each one, apart from the very smallest, has got a cap on it for the emptying of the dust. So now no matter what thickness your workbench is, be it 18mm or all the way down to like 44mm, each dog gets about 7mm of play. So there's one that will suit every single depth of workbench up to about 45. We are getting ever closer to the funniest tool I've ever bought, and I'm not just building this up for YouTube algorithm. But first, sometimes you just need a piece of wood on your workbench, and you don't need it locked down, but you need it butted up against something. Say you're hand planing. Well, that's where I'm hoping these planing stops do a good job. And my first surprise is that I was under the impression I was getting 2. I think I need to check my receipt. Okay, after a quick check, this one's on me. You only get 1. Shows 2 in the picture, so be careful. And if you only get 1, I'm going to straight away say this is going to be very difficult to see good value in, because 1 will cost you £9 or $12 if you're ordering it in the US. It's got these adjustable bench dogs, and this works really simply. So you just find your dog holes, pop it down on your workbench, locks it into place, and you butt your wood against it. There's goods and bads with this. Good, it's well made, solid, fits in the dogs well, and it's low profile. So you can hand plane down to about 5 or 6mm in thickness. Now the bads. 1, it's made of metal, which is as good as it is bad. If you catch the metal with your hand plane, you're probably going to have to regrind your iron. I would suggest this is a no-go. Cheapest possible way, just clamp a piece of wood right the way across your workbench. Then, work against it. Second cheapest possible way, make your own. I've shown this before in a video. With these, all you need is one fixed dog and then cut out a groove and have another sliding dog. Fit that into any two places on your workbench and you're good to go. You could even make this in a right angle if you want extra support. Or, and I've resorted to this in every tool so far, the first 3D printed bundle I ever uploaded onto the website had these in it. They come in 3 thicknesses. You've got the standard planing stock with your movable peg on the one end, so you can adjust it. You've got the right angle, same principle, and you've got the chunky right angle. Both of these designs come in these 3 different thicknesses. Now, apart from budget, the main reason to go for wood or plastic for your planing stops and supports is that it's just kinder on your tools. Now, when talking about woodworking, people love to use the old adage, you can never have enough clamps. But actually, I find it's more accurate if you say you can never have enough of the right type of clamps. When it comes to holding work on your workbench, one of these F-style clamps or a sash clamp or a bar clamp, they're just not going to do the job. What you need is one of these. Now, if you watch the Christmas video, you'll know that I love these ratchet clamps, but they're not what I'm here to talk about, because these involve clamping on top of the piece of wood that you're going to work on. The clamps that I bought in this bundle are these. And what makes these especially brilliant is that they hold work to your worktop without actually being on top of the work. For £23 or $32, you get 2 pairs of clamp and bench dog stop, both of which have a nice rubber, soft contact point, so they're not going to mar your work. And for those of you with an MFT top, they also come with a spacer and a star knob for attaching them permanently. As well as their holding strength, their biggest function is speed. You fix the smaller dog in your workbench, put the piece up against it, and then from furthest out to nearest in, you've got around 10 centimetres of play in the clamp itself. You rest it against the piece you want to clamp, and then you pull the lever down. This moves the head out by about another 3 millimetres. Now, I mentioned earlier about Chinese manufacturers ripping off well-known brands. This is definitely a copy of the Bessie clamp. So morally, make your choices with that. Because the fact of the matter is, they're around about 1/3 of the price for a very similar item. So whether you go for these or the original from Bessie, it does one job, it does it brilliantly. Every workshop with an MFT style or a dog hole table would benefit from these. And now for the last tool, and this one is my absolute favourite, but not for the reasons you think. It's not a tool that I think the world actually needs, but I think I know what they were aiming for. You see, when using a chisel, you never want to use it uncontrolled. And what I mean by that is, say you're pairing a door or a box and you're inlaying a hinge. You don't want the chisel to go past where the marking is for the back of the hinge. So what you do is you choke the chisel so that your finger can butt up against the box and it stops the chisel. But how has nobody thought of adding a depth stop to this tool? And more than that, why make it a simple depth stop? Why not have it rolling? And why have it on the outside of the chisel? Why not have it as part of the chisel itself? You see, I can see how this design got to where it is now. And the really funny thing about this is, nowhere on the site do they actually tell you why they've put this rolling depth stop on it and how to use it. The only time they mention it is right at the bottom of the page, where they call it a roller assist for when guiding around a template. I've never used a chisel to go around a template. I've never wished for a roller assist. So whoever put the website together looked at this and clearly thought, sure, that's normal. They'll know what to do with that. It's brilliant and awful, but does it help in any way? I'm going to put the best edge I can possibly put on this to give it the best fighting chance. And by the powers of YouTube, I'm going to have that done in less than a few seconds. So I'm going to come back with that, and then I'm going to show you what I think this is supposed to be used for. And we'll test it. See if there is a world where this is needed. So here was my first thought. Whenever you edge band something, you leave an overhang on one or both of the sides. And sometimes it's hard to keep a regular chisel flush while you carve away that edge banding. It can end up digging in to the piece. So here's my first thought. The bearing rides on the top. It kind of supports the chisel. I guess it takes one thought process out of it. Oh, that wasn't supposed to work. I genuinely thought this through and I thought, that's not actually going to help in any way. But the fact is, this, keeping it so that the center of the blade is in the right spot, as opposed to freehanding it, that shouldn't work. That shouldn't help in any way, but in a weird way it does. The last thing I thought of is for cleaning up a surface. If you get it on a skew and you're rolling against the inner bit of the wood here, do you have more control than just using your chisel? There is one place that I found it. It's for taking putty out of a window after you've heated the putty up. There's a company that makes a heater that you leave on the putty and it softens it. And then you roll the roller along the window frame and carve out the putty. This wheel apparently helps you with the movement. Apparently that is what this was designed for. And Banggood have taken it upon themselves to copy it, thinking maybe there's going to be a market for it. Doesn't seem a smart copy. Anyway, that's truly what it's for. Is there a place for it in my workshop? No. No, I don't think this is one that I'm going to say to you to rush out and buy. Just get yourself a nice chisel, learn how to put a nice edge on it, and then learn how to use it without marring your work or sticking it in your other hand. That's probably a better recommendation. And so there it is. Some that I recommend, others that I don't. And that one tool that, you know what's going to happen. I'm going to pull it out for a load of jobs. I'm going to find it really useful and I'm going to prove myself wrong. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thank you so much to everyone over on Patreon who helps me out with this. Don't forget, all of the 3D files are on my website, linked down in the description, as are the links to the tools. If you like this video, you'll probably like one of these. If you go to Patreon or click on one of these, I'll see you over there. Thanks a lot.